The 49ers ghost of 2024 past were out to get them, but they survive in a thrilling and much-needed division win in Seattle. We'll discuss all the happenings in today's Instant Reaction postgame.
You're listening to the 49 Carats podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Sunday, September 7th. We just got done watching the 49ers thrilling week one win. It was a roller coaster ride over there in Seattle. Oh my goodness. From start to finish, this felt like a classic 2024 version of the 49ers, except till the very end when the 49ers seal the win. I can't tell you how happy I am that they actually got this done, because for much of this show, or for much of the game, I was preparing my notes and all that, and it really did feel a lot like a 2024 game. I feel like the 49ers overcame a lot, most of self-inflicted mistakes, and we'll talk about those. But this feels like a turning of the page a little bit, because for the 49ers to deal with everything that they dealt with in this game and to still come out with the win, a win, I might add, that I thought was aided by both sides of the ball, getting it done there at the end. I think it gives me some hope. It gives me some hope for this 2025 team. There's a lot to clean up still. But the fact that they were able to get it done, and like I said, a division game on the road, you're missing guys due to injury already. Like, this was huge. This was huge. So let's get into what happened in this game. Well, for one, I'll talk about just kind of how this game started, right? So 49ers strike first with a touchdown on their first offensive drive. You see first downs from Kittle, Pearsall with a couple of catches. They couldn't really run the ball early in this game, but, it didn't really matter, at least in that first drive, because they scored a touchdown, 14 plays, 95 yards. Purdy was 6 of 7 for 66 yards on that one. Also had 12 rushing yards. And then George Kittle had the touchdown, a red zone touchdown, I might add, which was the huge difference, I think, like for the 49ers last year, right? They struggled in the red zone. Looking at the numbers today in the red zone, just really quickly, they were 2 of 5. So still some room for improvement there, but good to see them use George Kittle early in the game to get in the end zone. Now, Kittle left this game pretty early in the first half, and it was a little scary, because that Kittle, especially with Juwan Jennings not being 100% going into this game, the question marks around Christian McCaffrey, you figured this was going to be a big game for George Kittle. He does usually have good games against Seattle, but he exits this game with a hamstring injury. And what's concerning about the hamstring injury for George Kittle is that he was almost immediately ruled out, which kind of tells me that they saw all they needed to see in the blue medical tent to designate him as out for the remainder of the game. Got to think that's not usually a good sign. Certainly not a good sign for this week, but probably has implications for weeks to come for George Kittle. So likely we'll have to wait on an MRI to get the diagnosis on Kittle and how long exactly he's going to be out. But that is definitely concerning. So with George Kittle out, and like I said, pretty early in this game, you have Jake Tungus, who won the TE3 battle, after roster cuts and all that. He got the nod over Braden Willis, right, who's now on the practice squad. So Jake Tungus has to go in there and play a much bigger role than he probably anticipated he would at any point this season. But he has to fill in for Kittle in week one. And we'll talk more about Jake Tungus here in a bit. Don't you worry. He had an awesome game. But also, Luke Farrell getting more snaps out there. But let's talk about the beginning of the game still. So like I said, 49ers strike first. get on the board early. Early in the game, defensively, I felt like Seattle was having a lot of success running the football. Zach Charbonnet got loose early in this game. They were moving the ball that way. We knew that they were going to want to run the football. And so early on in this game, Seattle then gets the touchdown after the 49ers do. And they kind of pick on Upton Stout a little bit early in this game as well. And Stout, for his first, NFL action as a rookie now, tough matchup in week one. They had Cooper Kupp lining up in the slot. They had Jackson Smith and Jigba lining up in the slot. And so they were going after Upton Stout. And I can't blame them. I mean, they got a lot of nice looks against him. Upton Stout, later in the game, I thought he did have a couple of nice plays where you can just tell the fact that he was getting targeted wasn't breaking down his confidence at all. I think that is a good sign. In fact, he did have a pass breakup on a pass intended for Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle's final drive, which was pretty big. Or sorry, it might have been the play before the final drive for Seattle, but still pretty big in that case. But yeah, so the Seattle was having some success running the football early in the game. I felt like as the game progressed, 49ers defense did tighten up, especially in the run defense a little bit. Right. And so you saw Seattle start to throw the ball a little bit more, which I think is favorable for the 49ers. They were starting to get some pressure, get some good penetration on run defense. But then it became like a bit of a punt battle for a couple of drives. And then it does feel like 49ers have the momentum before halftime, in which they do get into the red zone. All right. And again, this is without Kittle. So some nice plays by the 49ers offense. He had like Purdy to Juice on a delayed wheel route for a gain of 25. Then you had once they got in the red zone, the drive did stall. So CMC gets blown up. They lose yardage. I think that was like on first down. 2 straight incompletions from Purdy. And then you got Jake Moody going out there for a 27-yard field goal before halftime. And you think to yourself, I think 49ers had like a little over 5 minutes when that drive started. I think there was like 2 minutes when they got around the time they were in the red zone. So, you do want to drain some clock. But you're also in the red zone, so you don't have that much room to work with where, you could drain the clock. And then, like I said, the runs just weren't working, 2 straight incompletions. So then Moody comes out, like I said, and you think to yourself, 27 yards, he's got to make this, right? But then you also remember, it's Jake Moody, so you just never know. He can miss an extra point. So Jake Moody misses the 27-yard field goal to our dismay and our anger. And it appeared to be Kyle Shanahan's anger as well. If you guys saw his reaction after that one, to which my reaction to Kyle Shanahan looking angry, it was like, hey, dude, who was holding a gun to your head to keep Jake Moody after the miss in the preseason game that he had against the Raiders? Personally, I never cared about the fact that he had the game-winning field goal after that. I thought to myself, this is the Jake Moody experience. He's going to make some, he's going to lose some, but he is going to lose some. And when he does in the regular season, it's going to come back and bite you. Now, it didn't end up mattering in this game, but I did feel like, the end of this game, a lot more difficult for the 49ers than it probably needed to be. And some of that had to do with Jake Moody's missed field goal. So I really do hope that Kyle Shanahan is done with Jake Moody at this point. Because otherwise, this is just what we're going to get every single time with Moody. You just don't know whether he's going to make it or not. And once you're in the regular season, like, can you really afford to not know? Like, there was a bunch of 4th and 2s in this game. Like, all of the 49ers 4th down conversions, it felt like they were 4th and 2s for some reason. And there were multiple times where after this missed field goal from Jake Moody, Kyle Shanahan kept the offense out there because you can't depend on Moody. And, unfortunately for a couple of those, the offense did stall out and he did have to put Moody out there anyway. One of those times he ended up having his kick blocked, which, okay, that wasn't Moody's fault. Special teams still very much an issue in this game. At halftime, 49ers were, Seattle was up 10-7 at halftime. And at halftime, the 49ers special teams already had 3 penalties. So, just not having the greatest week 1. And I get it. New special teams coordinator, and you have Jake Moody. It's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies for the special teams, but my God, it would be nice if we could just see that unit improve, even just a little bit, please. Maybe we see that later in the season, maybe as early as week 2, hopefully. But the story of the first half was just kind of a trading of blows between the 49ers and the Seahawks. Kittle leaving the game pretty early. Upton Stout having many welcome to the NFL moments, and Jake Moody missing his field goal and special teams, being disappointing. Then in the second half, the 49ers could make things right, and they have a chance to go up as they get the ball first to start the third quarter. And the drive starts pretty well. Purdy dumps it off to Christian McCaffrey for a 25-yard gain. And then Brock Purdy throws an ill-advised interception. Just not enough juice on a pass over the middle, off his back foot, trying to get it over the defender, Ernest Jones, trying to get it to Juwan Jennings. But because it's thrown off his back foot, not enough power on that ball, Ernest Jones picks it off. I mean, Purdy tries balls like that a lot, right over the defender, layered throws like that. And, sometimes it works out for him. He gets it and it just misses the tip of a defender's fingers or something like that, right? And it's a completion. But in this case, there was no reason to force it. And again, throwing off of his back foot, just ill-advised. So 49ers turn it over coming out of the half in a game that they were already down 3. Thankfully, though, and this is kind of where I want to start giving props to Robert Saleh, because, man, the 49ers had a lot of changes this offseason. They brought in a lot of new guys. I think the biggest change of all, and I knew this was going to be the biggest change, Robert Saleh, from going from Nick Sorensen to Robert Saleh, I think is the change that we needed. If that was the only change the 49ers made this offseason, if you think about it, if they had Robert Saleh last year with everything else being the same, they would have won more games. No doubt about it. And I think Robert Saleh, with this defense, was the difference in this game in making it possible for the 49ers to come back and win it. And for the 49ers to pretty much put a bow on it right there at the end. And keeping Seattle to just 13 points in this one is huge. So I want to give them props. And, I kind of wanted to go on that tangent there because after Purdy's interception, they force a 3-and-out for Seattle's offense, which is huge, right? So then the 49ers get the ball back, right? And you're thinking, okay, cool. They can make this right again. There's third time's the charm, second or third time's the charm this time. And the 49ers had a lot of successful runs. They had a 4th and 2 on the Seattle's 30. Again, that was one of those times where Kyle Shanahan decided to go for it. They converted on a throw to Luke Farrell. Tight window throw. A lot of contact. He held on to it. Shout out to Luke Farrell for that one because I thought that was a really tough catch for him to make on a 4th and 2. Then there was a play. Purdy nearly sacked. Threw it away. Offsetting penalties. Intentional grounding. Illegal contact by Seattle. Okay. Live to see another day. Then they get into another 4th and 2, this time on Seattle's 18. This time they trot out Jake Moody because, they're closer to the uprights, I guess, a little bit of a chip shot field goal for Jake Moody, although he does miss those 2. So I guess I'm not sure what the logic was there, but this time the field goal gets blocked. And so the score remains 7-10, Seattle winning. And that one, the field goal getting blocked wasn't even Jake Moody's fault. Like, I can't even get mad at Jake Moody for that one, but it's just like a face palm, of course. And so special teams gave way to Julian Love on that one to completely blow that one up and get a hand on it to block that field goal. Thankfully, it didn't get returned or anything like that for like a touchdown or something. That would have been disastrous. But yeah, 49ers blocked field goal. Seattle still up 10-7. And then Seattle gets the ball back, of course. And again, this is where I want to give more props to the 49ers defense, because just when they needed it, Sam O forces a fumble on Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Marquez Siegel, the safety, who got the start today, by the way, over Jair Brown. He recovered the football. And again, this 49ers offense gets another chance to make things right. All right. And around this time, we actually heard that Juwan Jennings was out for this game, and he was questionable to return for a shoulder injury. Later on, the broadcast would tell us that Juwan Jennings was having trouble lifting his arm. That is very concerning. And remember, the 49ers reportedly did make a long-term, 3-year deal offer to Juwan Jennings this offseason, with the whole contract dispute, in which he reportedly declined. And that's how he ended up with the $3 million potential incentive to play this year for the 2025 season, his final year of his contract in San Francisco. Now he has a shoulder injury. Remember, he had a calf injury in training camp early on and in OTAs, and now he has a shoulder injury, which, by the sounds of it, if you can't lift your shoulder, I have to think like you're in danger of missing time. And again, we'll wait to hear what the diagnosis is on Juwan Jennings, but that would be very unfortunate for a player who wanted to bet on himself in the final year of his contract here in San Francisco. So we'll wait to hear on Juwan Jennings. But back to this drive. I mean, it's now the fourth quarter, and so the 49ers have a chance to make things right. They do. And it was scary at times. Like Dominic Pooney exited. We were all nervous about that. Thankfully, he only missed 2 snaps. On this drive, so Purdy had a couple of dimes to Pearsall in this game. I must say, right? This one was the first dime to Pearsall, 24-yard gain. I believe that one was like along the left side as well. And so that was huge to get them a little bit further downfield. McCaffrey also had a decent gain, 14 yards in this drive as well. And then they get to another 4th and 2, in which they did convert Purdy to McCaffrey on a speed out. That was big for them. And then they're in the red zone again. And Brock Purdy almost immediately, like, he sees this play right away. It was very similar, actually, to the touchdown he threw to Kittle in the front corner of the front right corner of the end zone. And he had Pearsall right there. And it was very, boom, boom type of play. Purdy was going for that one the whole way. Tariq Woolen of the Seahawks, man, I got to give him props, because that was a great play to get his hands in there to save the touchdown, basically. Because I thought that was for sure in. That was for sure Tutty. If he doesn't get a hand on it, I think Purdy really likes that front corner of the end zone on the right side for his guys. And that one of Pearsall did not fall. So then it ends up being a 32-yard attempt for Jake Moody. Again, this is now the fourth quarter, and the 49ers tie it. Finally, after many attempts, the 49ers tie it in the fourth quarter. It's 10-10. And this is where chaos ensues, right? So the following drive for the Seahawks, they punt it. Great play from Ronaldo Green to jar the ball loose from Jackson Smith-Njigba after he falls to the ground. So great follow through on Green to get that one out there. That would have been big for Seattle at that point. All right. So 49ers have a chance now. Their following play, about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And they have a chance to go up in this game. Purdy forces a ball downfield to Pearsall for his second pick of the day. And you're just like, no, you did not have to do that. He did not have to do that. I was very stressed at this point in time. I appreciate the aggressive nature of Brock Purdy, but there are so many times where it's just not necessary. I just hope he can live to see another down. But anytime he forces it, just feels like we might see this quite a bit this year. We saw it plenty last year where he was just forcing things, and it would be bad, right? A lot of the time it would be bad interceptions. So 2 picks on the day for Purdy, and that was the second one targeting Pearsall. And that one was just crazy because there were so many guys around Pearsall on that throw. There were 4 Seahawks defenders. Not sure what Purdy was looking at there. I'm going to chalk it up to an immense amount of trust that he has in Ricky Pearsall and trusting that Pearsall was just going to come down with it magically. And I'll tell you why the trust in Pearsall mattered, on the following drive. Well, after the interception, this time, the 49ers defense bends a little bit, but only because, Seattle had some favorable position. And so they got a field goal. So then Seattle goes up 13-10. And again, there's not much time left in this game. It's late in the fourth quarter. 49ers get the ball back. Ricky Pearsall. Man, well, I got to give props to Purdy because this is the play that I'm talking about. The immense amount of trust that he showed to Pearsall on this throw, 45 yards downfield. If you watch the replay that they showed on the broadcast, it was slow-mo, right? Purdy threw this ball before Pearsall had even looked back once. He knew he was going to be in that spot. And I thought Pearsall also made a great adjustment. Once he did turn around and saw it was coming for him, he made a great adjustment to get right under that ball and come down with it. 45 yards downfield. Wow. That was a throw of the game, I think. That was in the breadbasket. Like I said, he had a couple of dimes to Pearsall in this one. That was the one. That was the one. So that puts the 49ers in favorable position to potentially tie this game or even better, score, right? If you're going to score, this is the time to do it. If you're going to score again, this is the time to do it. And again, at this point, no George Kittle, no Juwan Jennings. And the 49ers get it done with none other than TE3, Jake Tungus, touchdown over the defender. And this was a very stressful play because it was third down, I believe. And Purdy had a ton of time to throw. It was man-to-man coverage, I'm pretty sure. Purdy had a ton of time to throw, dancing around, in the pocket, looking for anyone who's open, can't find anyone. He gets knocked a little bit. He's like, okay, I better move out of the pocket now. So he starts rolling to his right, throws it up. And quite honestly, I got to say, it wasn't the greatest throw. If Purdy was trying to get the ball over the defender, which would usually, you try to get it up over the defender, hope that your receiver can high point it over and get 2 feet in, right, at the corner. Well, that didn't happen. And again, he was rolling over to his left, so, couldn't really set his feet or anything like that. So he chucks it up, and the defender's right there. But you know what? It didn't matter because Jake Tungus was right there too, and he said, "This ball is mine. I'm coming down with this." He won the jump ball. Wow, I was overcome with emotion when I saw that throw and when I saw that catch, really, from Jake Tungus. What an incredible play from him to come down with it and help secure the win for the 49ers. So the 49ers at that point up 17-13. Seattle gets the ball with 1:34 left in this game. And Darnold completes a nice throw to Jackson Smith-Njigba. Big play for him, 40 yards downfield. Got the better of Renardo Green on that one. And so Seattle's in striking distance. But remember, a field goal does not win them the game because the 49ers are at 4. So they got to go for it. They're going for passes, which I think helps the 49ers in this case, helps Robert Saleh. Nick Bosa, with the pressure, pushes Abe Lucas right into Sam Darnold, lodges the ball loose out of Sam Darnold's hand. Thank you, Abe Lucas. Thank you, Nick Bosa. And gets the strip sack. Nick Bosa recovers, so he gets the strip sack and the recovery. And the 49ers call game. Like, wow, what an incredible finish from this 49ers team. I mean, this game had everything. It had everything, and it had a lot of things that were issues for the 49ers in 2024. Like I said, in the early first quarter of this game, 49ers defense struggled on run defense a little bit. Special teams definitely was a struggle, I'd say, throughout this game. What else? Red zone, still a struggle for this game. 2 of 5 in the red zone. But when it mattered most, they made it happen. Brock Purdy, interceptions and forcing throws. A little reminiscent of last year as well. You saw that. 49ers missing key guys on offense, Kittle and Juwan Jennings, then later in the game, right? Not the biggest rushing game for the 49ers. 69 rushing yards from McCaffrey. But I will say, I do appreciate Brian Robinson being able to spell McCaffrey in this game. And he's going to all season, right? So I'm excited for that. Brian Robinson had 33 yards. McCaffrey, 69 yards rushing. 73 receiving. So McCaffrey was huge, like out of the backfield as a receiver. 9 catches, 73 yards, 10 targets. I mean, he really became the focal point of this offense. I mean, he's always the focal point, but you know what I mean? Like in the second half after, Kittle wasn't there, after you didn't have Jennings, like it was kind of felt like it was all McCaffrey. And it needed to be. But when it mattered most, Jake Tungus too, man, that touchdown is incredible. Let me go through just some stats here. So Brock Purdy finished 26 of 35, 277 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Sam Darnold, 16 of 23. 49ers held him to 150 yards, no touchdowns, no passing touchdowns from Sam Darnold. They sacked him once. I'd say pretty decent day in the office for the 49ers defense, wouldn't you? For the first week of this 49ers defense back with Robert Saleh, with a bunch of rookies getting playing time. In a hostile environment, I would say they held up pretty damn well. Welcome back, Robert Saleh. And while I'm at it, goodbye, Jake Moody. At least I hope. Let me get to some of these. Kyle Shanahan had his presser. Let me just run through what Kyle had to say. So, for one, George Kittle with his hamstring and Juwan Jennings with the left shoulder, they'll have MRIs and additional testing in the next day to determine how serious those injuries were. But based on what it sounds like right now, I'm thinking both of those guys miss at least a game. But I guess we'll see. Oh my God. So Kyle Shanahan was asked about Jake Moody, as you would imagine. By the way, he was asked about Jake Moody like during the game too, in which Pam Oliver said that Kyle said he had no words for Jake Moody. After the game, he was asked about Jake Moody again and says there's, quote, no question that Jake Moody will remain as the kicker this week. He later adds that, sorry, I'm reading this tweet from Nick Wagner. Shanahan later adds that this was his response for how he feels, quote, right now, said he will get on the plane and evaluate later. Unbelievable. So my stance on Jake Moody at this point, and has been for all this season basically, is that whatever happens as a result of Jake Moody, whether it's making kicks, missing kicks, it's deserved by this 49ers team because they are complicit in keeping him on this team. And as of right now, it seems like he still is. Now, there's not much incentive to Kyle Shanahan saying, like, Jake Moody's definitely out after this game in his post-game presser. I get that. Like, what else was he going to say, I guess? But come on. Something has got to give. Something has to change. That's crazy, though. To say no question, Jake Moody will remain the kicker. I think there's some questions. I have many questions, actually, about Jake Moody being the kicker next week. A dome next week on turf. Like, does that even help? Does that matter for Jake Moody? I don't think it does. Okay, so here's a great stat. Shout out Nick Wagner for posting this. Seattle averaged 3.2 yards on 26 rush attempts by the end of it. And that's crazy because, again, early in this game, it did feel like Seattle was running the football like effectively enough. It was like they were getting, it was like death by 1,000 paper cuts, slow burn type of run success early. It wasn't like huge gashing runs, but it was the type that it's like, oh, if they continue with this, I'm a little worried. Well, the 49ers shut that down. Robert Saleh shut that down. These defensive players shut it down. Feel pretty good about that. And on the other side, McCaffrey having struggles running the football early, not being able to find daylight early in this game with the run blocking. Well, by the end of it, Christian McCaffrey, 31 touches, 142 yards. Pretty good day in the office for Christian McCaffrey. I admittedly was very worried about, McCaffrey's availability. The calf is still a concern if that pops up again, and that's just a product of just how this team handled that last year, just not really forthright in saying the status, telling us that he was fine, and then him being inactive and missing 10 weeks was bad. Oh, man. 49ers throwback. Sorry, I was in a groove going over this game. Totally missed the super chat. Shout out throwback. He said, I called it on X. I've said my guy 97 was going to have a game. Let's go. Also, congrats to Brock for being clutch. He owns Seattle. Brock Purdy sure does own Seattle. And I'm sure the Seattle fans enjoyed those 2 interceptions. Congrats on those, because that's all you're celebrating today. You ain't celebrating a win like we are. Yeah, huge game from Purdy to, be clutch there at the end. I still have my concerns about, some of those picks. His aggressive nature when he doesn't need to be, But, hey, we won. I'll take it. And Nick Bosa didn't have, like, the craziest game either. But the fact that he was clutch there at the end and closed it out on that pressure to force the strip sack was huge. Huge. All right, let me get to some of these comments here. You guys are fired up. I'm fired up too. Make sure you guys like this video if you haven't yet, by the way. We're all pumped right now. Hiram says, great win, but it was our defense that won that game. How does Purdy get player of the game? I definitely wouldn't give Purdy player of the game. No, I'd give Jake Tungus player of the game before Purdy. But yeah, this defense all around, great effort. Robert Saleh, man, I could just kiss that bald head of Saleh's because I'm so happy he's back. It's gonna be a world of a difference this year. A world of a difference. Yeah, Stout I thought was fine. Like even with him getting targeted early, I felt like he kept his confidence, and later had that pass that he broke up to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I love his style of play. He's a guy that plays bigger than he is. I think he's going to be a fan favorite. I know based on how I feel about him is based on what I saw in training camp. We didn't see him in the preseason. So I will continue to say that you guys will end up loving him. I know a lot of what you know about Stout mostly has been on other people's accounts, but by the end of the season, you guys will all love Upton Stout. I know you guys were worried about him in the first half, but hey, these rookies are going to have rookie moments. It's going to happen. And like I said on Twitter, I think the 49ers can survive rookie mistakes. What they can't what would be hard for them to survive is like things like fundamentals. Like they still have to be able to stop the run. Tackling. I thought tackling looked improved. Like, yes, there were some missed tackles here, but it wasn't like last year where we're like, by God, can someone just wrap up, please? It wasn't like that. I thought they were fine. 49ers first in the division. Well, the Cardinals won 2 today as well. So I guess they're tied at the top of the division. But any division win is huge for this team. And any division win on the road. 49ers just tied their division win total of 2024 in week 1. Just think about that. Yeah, JME says, I thought this game was sloppy, but I'll take the win. Absolutely. Yeah, Brian Robinson was solid, did have some good runs. He'll play. That'll do. Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy. Again, I think it just says a lot that the 49ers can face some of the same issues that I guess was a reason for their poor 2024 season in this game. You saw a number of those same things, but they either improved it as the game went on or they overcame it by the game's end. And that's big. Yeah, defense was amazing. Saleh is all the way back. We are so back. Hopefully these injuries aren't too major, man. I really hope so for Kittle and Jennings. Yeah, I guess we'll know more tomorrow or Tuesday about their status. For now, I feel good about this win. Let's enjoy it. And yeah, for Juwan Jennings, it was a shoulder injury. So we'll wait for that. Yeah, and obviously Christian McCaffrey's health is big, but he came out of this one, as far as we know, unscathed. Finished it. Had a lot of touches on the ball, and he held up. So that's great. Hopefully he can hold up for the full season. And yeah, bring on the Saints. Bring on the Saints, who lost to the Cardinals today. I'm excited for that game. I'm going to be out there in New Orleans. So if you guys are going to be out there, yeah, we should link up. But wow, for now, we're going to enjoy this week 1 win. Really excited about what I saw from this team, especially on defense today. And like I said, make sure you guys like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. that's all for today on the Instant Reactions show. We'll be back tomorrow with my Player of the Week show with co-hosts Weston. So make sure you guys check that out. Hit that notification bell on YouTube so you know when I go live. For now, folks, have a good rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the win. Peace.